Einige von uns haben was. Nee, sagen Sie, was Sie wollen. Sag ich dir etwa, wie du deine...
The day of the Jackal's first episode opens with Ralph, an elderly man, trying to mimic the voice on a tape recorder. Ralph leaves with his rifle down his trousers, wearing a name tag and chanting a mantra. But when the camera moves across, it becomes evident that this is a fake. With a chain around his neck, the genuine Ralph lies lifeless on the couch. The program has a good setup. In addition to being a master of disguise, the Jackal is also portrayed as being clinical, cold, and calculating. But he's still a person, and he adds a human touch by, for example, setting off the fire alarm before blowing up a flat. The notorious Jackal is going to carry out an assassination on us in Munich. The mastermind in masquerade goes up at Ralph's workplace pretending to be a sweeper and makes an effort to murder Elias, who is also Manfred Fest's son. For a brief overview of history, Manfred Fest is currently the leading candidate to become the next German Chancellor, and this man is a far-right politician. Because of the poorly executed hit on Elias' life, he escapes with only minor wounds. A significant percentage of security personnel are killed by the Jackal before he descends from the roof and makes his escape. This master of disguise removes his mask and is ready for the actual assassination when he gets home. Elias was not the actual target, he was only the bait. The sharpshooter that the Jackal has primed and ready to fire strikes with extreme precision. The cops figure out which apartment building the gunman is in, but the Jackal purposefully waits a few more seconds so the security guards can notice the glint from the scope. Before we continue, we're excited to assist all our non-English speakers and viewers to learn English with movies. Every day, we upload new video episodes with a rewritten description of the movie or TV show. Just hit the third button on your right below titled CC to learn English with movies. And please, drop a like on this video. Okay, now, let's get back to today's episode. It just so happens that the Jackal has a bomb hidden beneath the bed when they arrive. On his way out, he does sound the fire alarm, which is a great gesture to demonstrate his moral compass and his desire to leave innocents before murdering the police. In addition, the vehicle in the garage also blows. The mission is complete. We meet the cocky and generally boisterous Bianca at the MI6 headquarters in London. She starts looking through the gun and discovers a connection to Germany. Bianca, her husband Paul, and their daughter Jasmine reside at home. When they watch the news, they see the sniper-wielding shooter and the one bullet that killed the German politician. Bianca is apprehensive and is going to work, wherever she finds it hard to believe that this building was just 2.3 miles away. Although we clearly know that it is conceivable, she doesn't believe it. She wants to be involved because she claims that sharpshooters are her patch. She argues back with Werner, the German intelligence operative on the line, and is rather bold and opinionated. We know this weapon has been stripped down, but Bianca insists it must have been. Bianca is aware that Norman Stoke, a gunmaker, has been attempting to do this for a while. Born in Northern Ireland, he has been evading capture since the 2018 Stockholm assassination. Bianca, who is a little caustic in the process, thinks she can locate Stoke and attempts to make connections. It's their sole lead, and she thinks she can help them with an asset in Belfast named Alison Sparrow. The Jackal does not appear to be unusual when he departs Nuremberg for Paris. He dons spectacles, adopts a different accent, and even shows the border patrol agent a crate containing an ivory chess set. He gets through security with ease and goes to an internet cafe where he has a job set up. The Jackal demands $1 million before anything else in order to meet in person, and there is $10 million at stake. Bianca doesn't even tell her family before leaving for Belfast. She visits Sparrow while procrastinating on family's the end of the day and quickly apologizes. She uses her influence to help Alison discover the location of Norman Stoke, in part by using her companion Larry, who also happens to be his brother. Bianca almost makes it to her last flight home. It makes sense that Jasmine is unhappy and unable to even look at her mother, and Bianca is aware that she is also in trouble. Part of Bianca's strategy to attempt to get Sparrow to cooperate is to incite a radical leftist organization led by a girl named Emma. Bianca uses this, Sparrow's daughter, to go to Norman Stoke. Emma is transported to the hospital after suffering a heart collapse while incarcerated. Bianca's scheme fails. After arriving in Sweden, the jackal meets Leonora, his contact, and learns the location of his next target. After a quick encounter, he ultimately returns to his home in Spain. His wife, Nuria, is thrilled to see him. But the money from the Munich hit hasn't arrived yet, so the jackal talks to his contact once more. Nevertheless, he gets the response, FKUCU. In summary, this is a contemporary remake of Frederick Forsyth's 1971 book that takes place in the dark web, covert operations, international politics, and criminal underworlds. Redmayne is the jackal, an adept morphing assassin who can hit his victim from an unprecedented distance with a sniper rifle, so far away that MI6 first doesn't think it's feasible. He is a merciless murderer who doesn't care about the collateral harm to onlookers who just so happens to be in the inappropriate location at the wrong moment. However, he is also a family guy in this version, holding a significant assassin-shaped mystery from his kid and wife. This detail attempts to give the jackal more depth and humanity, even if he is usually tricky. The jackal is initially introduced to us in Munich, where he has been recruited to assassinate a contentious populist politician, a move that might have global repercussions. British intelligence is interested in the matter, especially Lashana Lynch's character Bianca, a firearms specialist who has suspicions about this new super sniper. As she focuses on the inquiry, she declares, "Snipers are my patch." Characters drool over weapon models, advancements, and tactics, making the entire show a gun lover's heaven. The jackal is skilled at using disguises and deciphering apparently insurmountable traps, but his greatest skill is using strong weaponry to shoot individuals in the head. However, it takes a while to arrive. The first 5 installments of the 10-episode run are being released all at once, and if you watch them all at once, you might feel that there are too many parts that will eventually come together. If only the jackal would stop hopping around different glitzy places, where he has to tie up a lot of loose ends. The plot revolves on a partisan paramilitary group and a tech billionaire who is now a philanthropist and is threatening to reveal the global banking systems. Parallel family problems also arise since Bianca and the jackal's jobs prevent them from becoming parents without fear of being shot each time they enter the workplace. An otherwise exciting thriller is slowed down and strangely grafted on by the familial issues. The first episode is great. It sets the stage for a lot of well-done action and promises a tight, concise drama that maximizes its acting abilities. It is very thrilling to watch the jackal complete his tasks and succeed in his bold schemes in spite of all evidence to the contrary. The episode begins with Eddie Redmayne's character, the jackal, observing birds in Cadiz, Spain. Supporters of Manfred Fest in London, England, call for a postponement of the next federal elections. Bianca Pullman's phone displays an incoming call from Sparrow. Grabbing it, Jasmine Pullman, Florissa Camara inquires as to Sparrow's identity. Bianca quickly answers the phone. She is accused by an enraged Alison Stoke, Sparrow, Kate Dickie of having Emma jailed in retaliation. Bianca refutes the charge. Sparrow insists that she get Emma out just as she did her and accuses her of lying. By the last moment of the day, Bianca consents in return for Norman Stokes' Richard Dormer cell phone number. From the doorway, the jackal observes Carlitos, Adonai and Saul Barajas and Nuria, Ursula Corbero. Bianca brings up Emma's previous cardiac problems. She is reminded by a sitter Halcro, Chukwudiawuji, that she placed Emma in a jail where she perished. She emphasizes the need of stopping Manfred's attacker before he commits another murder. Collateral damage, he says. That, in her opinion, is going a little too far. Lia Williams's character, Isabel Kirby, inquires about her perspective. According to Bianca, Emma shouldn't have passed away. To clean up her mess, Edward Carver, John Joe O'Neill is called in. Carver describes his role in making sure there is no link to MI6.
Gonna do? And if he's still straight?
Yeah, I don't fucking doubt it. Well, what do you mean? Sometimes you look at me and...
Is he a man?
This morning, and it hit an ears. Can we trust be worth it?
Thank you. The planet so interested in economic...
Oh, come on. The only way to do that
According to Bianca, she went via Gillespie, a police officer who knew her by name. Hal Crow is adamant on closing the business. She informs him about her talk with Sparrow, but she says she didn't tell her about Emma's passing. If she wants to continue excavating her hole deeper, he asks. Kirby refuses to give the Central Europe desk the case. Bianca emphasizes that until she gets Norman, the gun manufacturer, Sparrow must not learn about Emma. Carver provides the booth items for a whole day. After obtaining Stokes' phone number, Bianca phones Sparrow to inform her that Emma will be released. Yul Dag Charles, UDC, Khalid Abdullah, the founder of the Dag House Corporation, is the subject of the Jackal's investigation. To find out more about a €3.75 million deposit that was made to his account 14 days ago, he logged into his Cayman Metropolitan Bank account. "Why are you distracted?" Nuria says. He claims that one of his associates has misinterpreted their duties to him. She inquires as to whether money is involved. He expresses worry about the brand's image if the person gets away with not paying him. She offers to go get the cash on his behalf. He tells her another contract is in the works and assures her that he will take care of it. They have sex. Charles Dance's character Timothy Winthrop wonders if the Jackal is trustworthy. He is reassured by Zena Jansone, Eleanor Matsura, that the Jackal is the greatest. The $100 million payoff worries Doug Wojak, Corey Johnson more than the Jackal's potential. Unless he succeeds, no money is exchanged, according to Leonora Boggs, Christy Mayer. Winthrop maintains that if the hit works out, it would be valued $100 million. UDC discusses his opinions on financial transparency on a talk program. Kevin Shen, the interviewer, inquires as to whether he is worried about his bank accounts being accessible to the general public. Unlike others, UDC says it has nothing to conceal. Turning off the television, Winthrop emphasizes the need of completing the hit before the introduction of UDC's River technology.
Intonation, the sarcasm. Done. Shall we move on?
Going. Keep going. ¿Me quiere?
I love you.
Carlito's birthday is today. He receives a handcrafted aircraft from the Jackal. Their pictures are taken by Marisa Pucci Lagardi. According to the Jackal, no pictures should be shared on social media. John Arias's character Alvaro cautions her. Reluctantly, she consents. He is assured by Nuria that they are all aware. Sparrow worries about Emma's detention, as does Larry Stoke, Patrick O'Kane. She talks about wanting to visit London and recalls her first prison experience. They don't have the money, he claims. She offers to lend Norman money, but he declines. Alvaro uses Charlie to address the Jackal. He informs him that in his pub, his pal is trying to find a companion. When Cayman Metropolitan Bank sends out an alarm, the Jackal advises that they wait until he gets back. Marisa gripes about how long he works when he departs to check his account. "Look at all that he has accomplished," says Alvaro. The Jackal finds out that although his bank is unable to verify the payer's name, it can disclose the Munich bank account where the money was sent. He informs Nuria that he needs to go somewhere. She is adamant about taking him to the airport by car. Bianca and Damian Richardson, Ben Hall examine the Jackal's CCTV video. They get a screen grab of his backpack's branding. They find out that the assassin uses a Browning high-power Mark III and is right-handed. She wonders why he would choose a 9mm rather than a more powerful weapon. Nuria confronts the Jackal if he loves her at the airport. He gives her a kiss after saying yes. He instructs the cabbie to take him to Andalusia Avenue when she leaves, and he puts his wedding band in his pocket. After a little while, he opens his safety deposit box, which is stuffed with cash and fictitious identification. He departs and travels to Santa Justa in a cab. Nuria brings a bunch of flowers back to her car. She sees him in the backseat of the cab as it passes. He doesn't respond when she tries his phone. Later, she goes back to her house. Marisa is aware of a problem. She hears about the Jackal from Nuria. She was warned, Marisa recalls her. Sparrow begs Larry to approach Norman for a loan. He says he can't get Norman to answer his phone. Bianca looks into where the Jackal's bag came from. She informs Halcrow and Kirby that the assassin is British and was a member of the armed forces. Kirby queries how she is aware. According to Bianca, the British Army used the Browning High-Power Mark III until 2013. Halcrow informs her that numerous military forces used the high power as a standard. She claims that a UK business that exclusively distributed regionally through 2 Leeds-based merchants created the bag known as the Perfect Pack. Bianca is adamant that the assassin acts alone. According to Halcrow, each assassin has a spotter. He cautions her that Sparrow won't find out about Emma's passing until tomorrow morning. When she requests additional time, Kirby declines. Bianca declines to take on the case after speaking with Jasmine on the phone for a short while. She informs Damien that if the assassin had been in the British Army, he would have had Pirbright sniper training. The Jackal uses voice distortion equipment to speak to Xena over the phone. She demands that they get together again to talk about their strategy. Despite his reluctance, he consents on his own initiative.
Perhaps we can gas.
You're paying me to
Won't fly, but negotiable. Can you do it? Since you killed Manfred Fest.
Bianca hangs around with Ollie Akim Bangura, Jasmine, Adam, Hope Ikpoku Jr., and Paul Pullman, Sule Rimi. Sparrow takes pictures of his contact list in a pub as Larry gets her another drink. She sends Bianca an email with the contact list. Before she leaves, she makes a call to Central Control. Xena receives a message from a waiter, played by Peter Nagy at a restaurant. The Jackal requests that she not bring her phone when they meet at the English Garden at 10:00. Bianca tells Kirby that Norman is in Belarus over the phone. She cautions that Larry will notify Norman if he finds out about Emma's passing. Toby, Thomas Dominique, Colin, Nick Whitman, and Spencer, Matthew Gravel are waiting to transport her to Smarhan. Xena and the Jackal first meet in the English Garden. According to her, her customer inquires as to if it is feasible. UDC isn't mortal, he tells her. She inquires as to if the fee may be negotiated. He wants $50 million now, and then another $50 million tomorrow. Today, she gives him $20 million, but the work needs to be finished before River is freed on the 28th. He said that as soon as he obtains the funds, he will begin working on it. According to her, they will use the codename Rodan for UDC. He recommends referring to him as the Jackal. She cautions that Larry will notify Norman if he finds out about Emma's passing. Toby, Thomas Dominique, Colin, Nick Whitman, and Spencer, Matthew Gravel are waiting to transport her to Smarhan. Xena and the Jackal first meet in the English Garden. According to her, her customer inquires as to if it is feasible. UDC isn't mortal, he tells her. She inquires as to if the fee may be negotiated. He wants $50 million now, and then another $50 million tomorrow. Today, she gives him $20 million, but the work needs to be finished before River is freed on the 28th. He said that as soon as he obtains the funds, he will begin working on it. According to her, they will use the codename Rodan for UDC. He recommends referring to him as the Jackal. Online images of the Optipans annual celebratory gala are scanned by the Jackal. Hans Lang and Elias Fest were present. As the episode comes to a close, Bianca is departing Smarhan with Norman's equipment. The day of the Jackal's third episode opens with Alison learning about Emma's condition. Bianca returns to work as she and her partner, Larry Stoke, depart. She brings this to her superiors after having the baggage examined. They chastise her right away for the ill-executed kidnap and the murders she caused. Bianca shows off how the luggage is actually concealing a sniper weapon while ignoring all of this and not even caring about the murders.
Whose death went
need to be shut down.
bag. That looks like a million other bags. What?
Prototype.
Where is Isabel?
In the meantime.
When Isabel realizes this, she changes her mind and concludes that the operation is still ongoing because of fresh information. Bianca apologizes to Alison over the phone outside. She wants to have a face-to-face conversation with them and sit down to explain herself. While on the search, the Jackal uses a remote surveillance gadget to bug a computer at Markler. In order to do so, he pretends to be elderly and struggles to walk. This leads us beautifully to Elias, who is also in a similar situation and is determined to get back on his feet. Elias is the Jackal's objective, and he locates Stefan Wolf, his driver, to launch an assault. Just before, though, he calls Nuria, who asks him if he's having an affair. The jackal displays the space he is in and expresses how challenging his circumstances are. The jackal has no answers, and everything ends without a resolution, despite Nuria's pleas for him to remain with her and for him to return home.
Que no es normal. La Floren.
Don't know who you saw, but it definitely wasn't me.
Where are you now?
Of course, I don't have a woman with.
Hello. Satisfied?
However, Nuria is a woman obsessed and is in dire need of answers. She searches through her husband's belongings because she believes something is amiss. She discovers a secret locked door and a secret safe on the floor. Alison returns to London, distraught and furious. Assuming that helping an offender would land her in jail, Bianca casually points out that Larry's number was on Norman's phone instead. Alison says she's helping, but Bianca was undoubtedly partly responsible for Emma's murder as well, so she's not playing ball. But when Larry discovers that Alison has deceived him and given out Norman's number, he becomes enraged that evening and vents his rage on her. Back at work, a man named Carver questions Bianca about her mental health. She brings up the fact that Bianca's mother is an alcoholic who presently pays for sheltered housing. Most people assume that she was paid to provide information to an assassin in order to assist in supporting her mother. Although Bianca finds this accusation unbelievable, she is currently under a lot of scrutiny. It might be any of them because there seems to be a leak within the embassy and only Isabel, OC, and Damien are aware of the operation. Bianca discovers during this process that a series of texts before Manfred's demise originated from a codename of Jackal. She is likewise attempting to decipher the meaning of this Rodan. In relation to it, the Jackal has prepared a bomb in Munich that is ready to murder Elias.
Knows how to make guns.
Your salary?
Senior lecturer.
Senior lecturer. So your father was, what was he?
If that's what you want to call her. We suggesting I tip it, Norman.
Everyone lies.
Claro. Thanks. Damien.
He kills the genuine driver after forcing him into a car's trunk while posing as Stefan Wolf. He picks Elias up and leaves with him. When Elias confesses to using the Jackal to murder his father, he giggles and responds, "F you," before murdering him. The Jackal sets a bomb in the car to explode and then leaves with a change of clothes. While Nuria recruits her family to help her sneak into the secret chamber in their home, Alison reluctantly resolves to aid Bianca after all. Nuria discovers face molds, firearms, passports, and large quantities of cash inside. Unfortunately, the Jackal has cameras set up and is aware that she is now watching him. Even though Elias is no longer alive, the fact that he was on the call to Muller may provide Bianca with a vital hint that would help her identify the Jackal.
Okay.
Pulling the analog, I know, but anything from Sparrow?
Content, but Jackal. Well, it's code name.
After all, she might find him more easily because he wasn't employing a voice change device this time. He would, however, find it difficult to defend himself to his wife once Nuria broke into his hidden chamber and saw all of these passports and the piles of cash up close. Bianca, meanwhile, keeps on her rant about always being right and doing no wrong.
You know who I am.
Huh? That's just...
Elias.
When Carver questions her, we find out a bit more about her family structure, but other than the fact that she is a fantastic employee, there isn't much to know about her. As I've said a few times, we don't see any vulnerable moments, and even when she does fail, it's the fault of every person around her. This is the weak point in all of this right now, but perhaps it will improve and alter as the series goes on. The program is still captivating to watch despite this obvious flaw, and it will be intriguing to see where it goes from here.
coming.
What if there's a lead?
When are you coming back?
Shadows and Betrayal, the fourth episode of Season 1 of The Day of the Jackal, picks up speed amid a media frenzy brought on by Elias's murder. Excitement is high at the MI6 conference when a startling revelation is made. Elias had paid the Jackal to kill Manfred, adding a new twist to the case's already complicated web.
L'argent peut tout arranger, toi, espèce de... Tiens. Pas foncé dessus. Regardez l'état de mes phares. Oui, encore un mec qui sait pas conduire.
Les deux.
C'est une belle ville.
Ouvrez-moi ça, si... Éloignez-vous de la voiture.
Unfazed by the lack of a recorded discussion, Bianca is adamant that there are more depth layers that need to be revealed in order to conduct a more thorough investigation into the Jackal's covert activities. The Jackal is now trapped in a dragnet that spans all of Europe in France. When the Jackal, under the French moniker Anthony, kills the policeman and the truck driver to remove any evidence that may be traced back to him, a car accident involving a truck takes a dramatic turn. Even if his actions are getting more egregious, he still contrives to make the scene seem like a mutual killing, demonstrating his resourcefulness in spite of his declining fortune. Bianca, back at MI6 headquarters, knows the Jackal's locations and the urgent need to find out what his next target is. Another possible target in the Jackal's sights is hinted to by whispers, and George Hans, a former army soldier, may be the key. Bianca, however, has misgivings about Damien because she believes he may be the covert traitor among them. Bianca and George discuss the time frame and the feasibility of a sniper attack, which brings them to Alexander Duggan, a legendary character in Sterling who embodies the Jackal's traits.
There is one guy.
And where can I find him?
Well, by an IED with his entire squad.
It's dead.
Oh my...
It seems as though Xena and Charles are hinting something with the way they gaze at one another and the way Vincent talks to Bianca. By inquiring about Bianca's marriage, Vincent suggests that she was the one who fled and that he would quickly bring her back. The Xena incident, which occurs after Charles had to reassure his wife that everything was well, raises concerns since it's difficult to determine if his frustration is from meeting her in his room or from an exhausting day and he's letting the tension go because he's with someone he loves, or at least lusts for. I understand that the show's drama isn't the finest, but because personal drama has been one of the show's weaker aspects, I'd hate to see them use it more in anything other than the thriller part. The possibilities Nuria offered the program were appealing to me. She was the woman who may have been just as fierce as her husband, but she either didn't know the truth or did. She is a little bothersome lately, though. Yes, I understand that he lied, and that a big part of what kept him together was trust. However, much of my interest in her and Charles's relationship with her feels removed when I consider how her family distorted her thinking and how far she went to find solutions. Charles isn't used to being in circumstances that are beyond his control or that are intimidating, even if you knew he wouldn't die. Therefore, witnessing him in that role served as a reminder that he is still human, fallible, and imperfect without undermining his character. Then, considering how many missteps Bianca has already had, I believe that having the chance to shoot Larry and protect Jasmine demonstrated her far greater ability than is frequently acknowledged. Although we are aware that she is knowledgeable and familiar with the protocols, this was one of the first occasions in which she truly had the opportunity to be a badass in a significant sense. Larry is easily located even if he manages to get away from Bianca. Since Paul is at a conference, Jasmine is home alone when he discovers Bianca's residence and ends up jeopardizing her life. Fortunately, Bianca's shooting prowess allows her to rescue Jasmine before Larry kills him by opening her neck. Bianca and Charles probably continue to mimic each other's personal lives for another episode once Jasmine discovers who her mother is. Although his premature death in an IED explosion seems to rule him out as a suspect, it also raises concerns about the Jackal's actual identity and potential. As the Jackal's private life in Spain is falling apart, he makes a last-ditch effort to mend their broken relationship by inviting Nuria to Paris. The Jackal is forced to admit to being a troubleshooter, involved in industrial espionage after being severely slapped and asked to be honest upon Nuria's arrival. A deft combination of truth and deceit, his half-true confession seeks to appease Nuria while concealing his innermost secrets. Bianca is drawn to Allison by her unrelenting search for the truth, but their chat takes a dangerous turn when it is revealed that Allison has passed away and Larry is hiding in the shadows with her phone. Bianca's quick reflexes nearly avoid Larry's knife-wielding attack, but the experience leaves her injured and always alert. Bianca briefly displays her weakness at home when she dismisses her husband Paul's worries about the event and sends him off on a business trip with a clumsy kiss and hug. Her thoughtful reflection in the mirror and her command of the gun highlight her growing sense of insecurity. Isabel's capacity to protect Bianca in the workplace is fraught with difficulties.
One non-alcoholic beer.
The jackal's been contracted.
What the fuck?
Obviously, carbon.
But where's Paul?
He's on a work.
You guys even talk about?
After Bianca's plea that Vince be reassigned to their case is approved, they set out to figure out the mysterious meaning of the word Rodan and how it relates to the jackal's covert activities. Bianca meets Larry, with Jasmine at his mercy, in a tense, knife-edged meeting that comes about as a result of Larry obtaining Bianca's home location from Norman. Since Jasmine lies to Bianca about her involvement in Emma's death, her intervention and the police's subsequent appearance provide a nuanced dimension to the drama that is developing. The Jackal's return to his hotel room in Estonia at the end of the episode to discover his New York contact waiting for him serves as a sobering reminder that his behavior is being watched and that his leash is getting tighter. A compelling chapter of The Day of the Jackal, Shadows and Betrayal explores the protagonist's entwined personal and professional lives in great detail, revealing hidden secrets and emphasizing the grave repercussions of their deeds. Bianca and her team are in a race against time to uncover the conspiracy before it reaches a disastrous end, as the Jackal's actions get more daring and his connections more shaky.
Jackal en route.
And this is how we did it. All thanks.
Jackal, where is he now?
He should be.
In the earlier episodes, Bianca had discovered that Jackal had taken his snipe apart and put it in his luggage. She also learned that the sniper weapon that was specially constructed for him was created by Norman Stokes. Following the events of episode 4, Paul, Bianca's husband, made the decision to move in with his ex-wife since he didn't feel secure in their home. Larry had vowed to murder Jasmine after breaking into their house. Paul was aware that Bianca had a strong work ethic and that it was her top priority, but he still found what had transpired the previous day unacceptable. Paul wasn't in the mood to listen to Bianca's attempts to argue with him. Bianca advised her husband not to make comparisons between her work and his. She informed him that in her line of business, a single delay may result in someone losing their life. However, Paul wanted a break and didn't want to make amends with his wife right then. The fact that he had decided to go and spend at his ex-wife's house out of all the options made Bianca even more irritated. However, Bianca was powerless because he had already made up his mind. Bianca discovered that UDC was the Jackal's next target. She was able to make the connections easily after reading a newspaper piece, which I found a bit too handy. Larry was tormented by Bianca, who threatened to find and murder him if he didn't tell her where Norman was staying.
One of these guys is a dirty little man.
On Alexander Duggan.
So...
Hey, a bit of a weird...
Described it as a big white building with a gate.
Right. No.
Rodan is UDC. He knows. We go.
I get it. I need the details. Where is he? No.
Yeah, in your own time.
I'll pick you up.
She assured him that she would ensure that neither he nor Norman would be imprisoned for more than 5 years if he collaborated. Eventually, Larry gave in and informed Bianca that his brother was in Budapest, but he was unsure of his particular lodging arrangements. Bianca was able to determine where Norman stayed after Larry told her all the information he could recall. When the Jackal got in touch with Norman, we discovered that they greatly admired one another. Norman informed the Jackal that he would want assistance assembling the rifle due to an injury to his arm. Jackal broke from rules and went to assist Norman since he had no one he could trust. Jackal intended to use a fracture walker boot on his sniper this time. Although Norman enjoyed a challenge, he was aware that it would be difficult. After several hours of labor by both Norman and the Jackal, the pistol was completed. When the Jackal found out what had happened to Norman in Belarus, he was unhappy. He informed Norman that his greatest strength was his discretion and that his life would end the moment the public found out. The Jackal traveled to a far-off place to test the pistol because he wanted to. Norman made the decision to snooze since he felt exhausted. The Jackal saw that a vehicle was pursuing him on his way back. He paused in a cafe to inquire about the situation. After realizing it was Bianca and her group, he called Norman and requested that he remove all evidence and leave the area.
You lied to me.
I got a tip off the wrong.
You're an artist, my friend.
Yeah.
Build in 56 minutes from.
Going to be operating on their turf.
Do you?
Try it on. The scanner will pick up the.
The Jackal watches MI6's stealthy approach to Norman's hideout from his strategic location in a comfortable coffee shop. He quickly notifies Norman, who rushes to conceal his tracks and remove damning data. Norman is quickly captured despite his valiant efforts, and Bianca doesn't waste any time in questioning him about the elusive Jackal. There is optimism when a bag containing the Jackal's possessions is found on the couch. It may be used as bait to entice him into a well-set trap. However, the Jackal's keen intelligence and flawless accuracy make Bianca's plan useless. In a stunning and surprising turn of events, he kills Norman with icy accuracy and daringly escapes on a horse. The Jackal barely avoids a barrage of shots from Bianca's rifle during the subsequent chase, which is a frantic and thrilling game of cat and mouse. Even though it was a very near call, the Jackal's survival is a striking tribute to his fearsome talents. He takes sanctuary in a dark barn, but when he is suddenly woken, he is shackled, completely at the mercy of his captors, and has a pistol focused on his face. The season finale is expected to be nothing short of exciting, since the episode ends on a suspenseful cliffhanger, leaving the Jackal's fate dangling in the balance. With its captivating story, The Day of the Jackal never fails to enthrall audiences and keep them on the edge of their seats. The fifth episode is a brilliant display of suspense in which each character's choice and action has great weight. Bianca's unflinching will to bring the Jackal to justice grows stronger as his world breaks apart, culminating to a confrontation that will live on in people's memories for years to come.
Is this for the Jackal as well?
How the fuck?
Makes sense. You're pretty.
Oh, come on, Norman. Makes sense he'd need another bespoke weapon.
Huh?
Norman erased the files on his computer system, but he was unable to escape. Bianca was hoping that she may obtain some important information from Norman when he was captured. Bianca set him off, making sure he became enraged. However, the Jackal shot and murdered Norman with the sniper rifle that Norman had built for the UDC assignment before he could say or do anything careless. The whole M6 crew pursued the Jackal once Bianca's men saw him in the distance. The Jackal managed to come close to escaping, and he was aware that he would have undoubtedly been apprehended this time if circumstances weren't headed his way. The Jackal enters a barn at the end of episode 5, conceals his rifle under a haystack, and lies down to rest. When he opened his eyes, he saw a guy standing there with a pistol. That man attacked the Jackal and then tied him before he could take any action. The Jackal was stuck and didn't know how to get out. Although it appeared that the man who caught the Jackal was most likely the owner of that property, we were not given his identity. The fact that he arrived there and discovered the Jackal was really a coincidence, and I don't believe the man had nothing to do with MI6 or Bianca. The Jackal needed to make specific preparations in order to carry out the UDC task properly, which was scheduled to take place in fewer than 5 days. This time, the Jackal was aware that the stakes were considerably higher. The instant the individuals who had recruited him chose to give him a staggering $100 million, he realized how important it was. Given the delicate nature of the assignment, he was aware that he was violating his own policy. It would be intriguing to watch how the Jackal would handle things following such a close confrontation, but I think he will be able to work out a deal with the farmer and get out of the barn in time.
UDC is the Jackal's next target.
I shoot anymore, Bianca. Turned up a black woman.
The 6th episode of Day of the Jackal begins with this cautious farmer questioning the Jackal. After explaining that he has no affiliation with any intelligence organization, Jackal is ultimately released in the morning. But the farmer alters his mind after discovering Jackal's weapon. He is taken into the farmhouse. Jackal gives up some cash to settle the debt with the man, Gabby, and his family. After a very near call at the conclusion of episode 5, the Day of the Jackal is getting hotter. Since the first episode, when the Jackal had everything under control, we've gone a long way. While Norman Stoke, Richard Dormer, was being tortured and questioned, the Jackal, Eddie Redmayne, killed him in order to get away from MI6 and Bianca, Lashana Lynch. The Jackal seeks refuge in a barn in episode 6 of The Day of the Jackal, but upon awakening, the property owner knocks him out. When he awakens, he is bound. After attempting to set him on his way, the owner, Attila, who does not understand English, discovers the Jackal's pistol and pulls him into his house so he can talk to someone and explain what the Jackal is saying. The other guys demand their share, but the Jackal offers to pay the man holding him to release him. They are halted at a police roadblock en route to the residence where the Jackal is being detained. Attila makes an effort to get the Jackal to consume bread. The Jackal headbutts him, renders him unconscious, and then pokes him with a knife as he shoves the bread into its mouth. He reaches for a revolver and attempts to rob a car, but it fails to start. The Jackal hides in the car while the other men show up brandishing their weapons. They engage the Jackal in a gunfight, which they lose, after discovering Attila dead. Laszlo, Vatamania Tanaz, the English-speaking young guy, gives himself over to the Jackal, and they depart in the vehicle they came in. The Jackal contacts his wife, Nuria, Ursula Corbero, in the automobile and informs her that he is unsure of what will happen. He asks her to do something, but we don't know what it is, and she agrees to help. MI6 is bringing Bianca back to London to lead Operation Anubis, the new team in operation to discover the Jackal, while they try to figure out how to use her recent mishap into something positive. They are examining the DNA and fingerprints. The Jackal is worthless if they possess that. Bianca refuses to leave Hungary when MI6 calls her back to London. She thinks the Jackal is there, but MI6 insists she return. Khalid Abdullah's character Yul Dag Charles uses force to coerce his board into letting River go. Despite knowing that he is in danger, UDC urges one of his associates to ensure River's freedom, regardless of the consequences.
This one, Gabor, used to be in the army. They've listed.
OC. Bad timing. Look.
She's very pleased.
Board to obtain the highest possible.
Shareholders are missing the point.
The board hasn't seen the text.
I believe from the start when we were writing code, you can't do the rehearsal in a wetsuit.
Glass is bullet resistant. It'll stop.
Good. The eighth. The glass can't protect you and alerted the flow into their money is going.
Word quickly spreads to Gabi and his friends about the shooting in Budapest. The Jackal takes advantage of the situation and escapes with a new automobile and a knife in Gabi's chest. After a near miss with Gabon, the English-speaking child, Laszlo, is assigned to drive the Jackal past the police barricades. Nevertheless, Bianca and Vince get summoned to the farmhouse after the killings, and the police are all over Norman's workshop after stealing Jackal's jacket and stuffing it under her coat. However, the Jackal has long since left and calls Nuria to let her know that he may not even return to Spain. He admits that he's in Budapest and apologizes for taking her by surprise. However, Nuria consents to assist. Naturally, Nuria is aware of the secret room, and the Jackal provides her with detailed instructions on how to resolve this. Vince and Bianca go to the location where they discovered several prints. They seem to be headed in the right direction because one of these will match the automobile. But the time is all wrong because OC calls to inform them that Isabel is proceeding with Operation Anubis. OC has been erasing texts, though, and one of them indicates him discussing UDC. In addition, UDC is still in Croatia and will make an announcement on River within the next 4 days. This allows us to predict when the Jackal will attack. But for the time being, he must leave Hungary. His background, which contains a great deal of carnage and death from many killings while serving in the army, will also haunt him, making it much more challenging. By choosing not to murder the motorist, the Jackal spares his life and forces him to swear not to speak to the authorities. After Laszlo gives his consent, the Jackal disappears. He talks to his contact at the internet cafe. They are growing anxious and beginning to doubt if he is the best candidate for the position. The Jackal puts their trust in Nuria that he needs these conceals to escape Hungary while juggling this and their love. Is it worth it? The Jackal stops when she asks. It was, he answers. As soon as Nuria arrives, it is evident that her contribution radically changes Jackal's appearance. He actually looks exactly like a weak elderly man in a wheelchair. It turns out that Bianca is in the same airport. Carver resumes his rounds at MI6, going to face Damien this time. He mentions Alexander Duggan and a possible mole in a stunning woman he had sex with while on vacation. Damien is unsure if he gave her information regarding the Belarus operation, although he could have. In any case, Isabel makes a crucial decision and chooses to change Bianca's trip from London back to Tallinn, Estonia. Bianca and Vince are sitting on the chairs directly in front of the Jackal as they board the aircraft. The mention of OC's name here definitely makes Jackal's spidey senses quiver. They land without any problems, but the Estonian police arrive that evening and start questioning them. Despite avoiding the cops, the Jackal is undoubtedly a little suspicious because there has apparently been a burglary in the region. The Jackal makes the decision to call Rasmus, the young man who aided him in finding the phone on the concert floor a few episodes ago. They ultimately have X after going out for drinks together.
On the 28th. Ultra-sensitive scanner, but I've got an idea for it. Are people looking for me? What sort of vibe would you say I have?
The day of the Jackal Season 1 Episode 7. The Jackal, Eddie Redmayne and Zena Jansson, Elena Matsura first meet at a Tallinn, Estonian library at the beginning of the episode. The British Embassy received MI6 agent Vince Pine, Nick Blood and MI6 agent Bianca Pullman, Lashana Lynch yesterday night, he informs her. If her people can handle them, he asks. She accepts, surprised that he asked for her assistance. Khalid Abdul, also known as Yul Dag Charles, UDC, is expected to arrive on Friday, she claims. He insists on payment as soon as the task is over and won't tell her about his intentions. Vince and Bianca join Operation Anubis at the British Embassy. They are informed by a sitter Halcrow, Chukwudiawuji, that Oscar Ilves, Tambit Tuis, their liaison, is looking through every hotel. The Jackal's composite drawing is made by Cole, Raiko Gohara. Though not Vince, Bianca is certain it's him. Because the MI6 lost sight of the assassin in Hungary, Keith Canvey, Martin McDougall cautions UDG against travelling to Tallinn. According to UDG, if River decides to stay alone, his adversaries will triumph. Teddy, Patrick Kennedy tells them that the visitors are clueless about their destination and have signed non-disclosure agreements. He worries about the impact on UDC's reputation of calling off the event. Anything would be better than being dead, Keith tells him. Rasmus, Andreas Jessen, is informed by the Jackal in Tallinn that he possesses the Constadisaral's plans. They enhance one another sensually. Nuria, Ursula Corbero worries Marisa, Pucci Lagardi and Alvaro, John Arias. When Constadisal shutters in Tallinn, Rasmus offers to drive the Jackal there. According to him, only certain individuals will be permitted entry to the location, which will be restricted to the general public. They're going this afternoon. Alvaro begs Nuria for $40,000 in Cadiz so that he and his buddy Antonia might buy a company. According to Marisa, the purchase would transform his life. The Jackal observes a live video from Tallinn of Alvaro taking cash and a firearm out of a locked room in his home. When Nuria isn't looking, Alvaro tucks further bundles of cash into his belt. Rasmus and the Jackal are at the Constadisal in Tallinn. He receives his passkey from Rasmus. The Jackal returns the passkey after taking a quick look around before heading out. A sitter informs Bianca and Vince at the British Embassy that Keith is remaining silent over UDC's visit to Tallinn. Oscar phones to let them know that last night, Peter Gibson, an Airbnb guest, was recognized by Officer Kova, Jane Knapp, as the facial composite. Vince and Bianca are attacked outside the embassy. At least one attacker gets away with it. When a sitter gets there, she implores Bianca to return inside, but she is adamant on going to the Airbnb. When Oscar and the tactical squad with guns knock down the door, it is empty. The Jackal and Rasmus bid each other farewell. Doug Wojak, Corey Jackson and Timothy Winthrop, Charles Dance talk about Russians and Lester Coghlan's, Brian Casp interview in New York. Kova says he saw a man who looked like the face composite at the Airbnb in Tallinn. The Jackal is requested to halt at a security checkpoint outside Constadisal. He opens his backpack and remarks that it is most likely his boot. He is allowed to pass by the guard. Kova reports that upon returning to the Airbnb, the individual was in possession of Peter Gibson's passport. He paid for the rental with a credit card. The Jackal uses money to buy water and food at Constadisal before settling in. The Jackal moves to the high level and climbs to a ventilation vent just above the concert pianist, Balant Barath, after he stops playing. After taking a pistol out of his boot, he silences it. The lights go out as the concert concludes. The jackal has death and battle in his nightmares. He recalls his initial encounter with Nuria. A sitter informs Vince and Bianca that the attackers are Russian at the British Embassy. She is adamant that she is being targeted for murder. He claims that since the Tallinn Airbnb rental, Peter Gibson's credit card has not been used. When the jackal senses footsteps above, he is still within the air duct of Constadisol. As Rasmus enters the security body scanner, Keith observes. He receives a facial composite of the assassin from Bianca and Vince. Keith doubts if it is accurate. She said that a police officer confronted the assassin directly. She displays to him the disguised jackal. Keith clarifies that he will be the sole person in charge of admission for the UDC event and that he intends to vacate the facility by 6 p.m. Armed guards will have access to the top balcony. From the air vent, the jackal observes Bianca hand Keith something belonging to him. The theater is sniffed by security dogs. There is no DNA found on the jackal's item. The jackal thinks about Nuria to keep his thoughts occupied. Invited visitors stream into the Constadisol the next day. Bianca and Vince are screened by security. Chris, Russell Ballow, is sent by Keith to inspect the building. Christy Mayer's character Lenora Boggs comes via helicopter. Through the vent, the jackal can see Bianca. Arriving at the location are Rima Buttons, Lourdes Fabiers and her group. Bianca and Vince are informed by Keith that UDC will come in 10 minutes. The jackal observes as people stream into the theater via the air vent. Keith tells UDC to remain close to the bulletproof glass in the green room. Teddy and UDC have a quick kiss before he gets into the elevator. As she enters the stage, Rima is presented. The jackal comes out of the air vent on the top floor. Adam, Hopik Poku Jr., Jasmine Pullman, Florissa Kamara, and Paul Pullman, Sule Rimi watch the event on television. A security guard is killed by jackal on the top floor. Winthrop, Xena, and Coblin watch Rima's address on television. As UDC enters the stage, the jackal in the baton observes. From behind the bulletproof glass, UDC addresses his visitors. The jackal continues to point his firearm at UDC. A shot is fired at UDC by Chris. A shot is fired by the jackal. UDC is surrounded by armed guards who lead him off the stage. Chris has been shot. It is revealed to Bianca and Vince that there were two shooters. Paul switches off the television after spotting Bianca on it. Doug wonders if UDC has passed away. Together with the visitors, the jackal leaves the premises. Rasmus knows who he is. He is killed by the jackal. The show comes to an end. At the start of the day of the jackal's 8th episode, viewers are transported to Helmand, Afghanistan in 2013. Eddie Redmayne's character Gary Cobb, Gerard Kearns, is a spotter for the jackal. Gary instructs Duggan to shoot the target so they may escape after seeing him. Duggan, though, doesn't think he's the proper man. Gary wants to know how long they will need to wait. As long as it takes, says Duggan. A news story on the assassination attempt is seen by Charles Dance's character, Timothy Winthorpe. According to Christy Mayer's character Leonora Boggs, the man who executed that trick wasn't their guy. In an interview, Teddy, Patrick Kennedy, discusses the attempted assassination. Teddy is determined to see river flow. Timothy claims that if this thing opens, he may as well set up shop at a farmer's market. Elena Matsura's character Xena Jansone is attempting to ascertain whether the jackal is still in operation. Timothy claims that Tallinn was their one opportunity, which he lost.
Where's your report?
What? That doesn't make any sense. Bravo 2. 1,400.
Xena explains in private that River won't be freed for another week. When Jackal breaches his cover, she will contact him. According to Leonora, these guys are at risk of failing. Everyone involved in that failure is disposable. Oscar Ylvis, Tambet Tuisk, Vince, Nick Blood, and Bianca Pullman, Lashana Lynch discover proof of the Jackal's actions. The gun that Norman printed is discovered. According to Vince, the Jackal was wrecked by that oddball Chris. Before they can escape, Duggan fires at the target. Back at the base, Duggan receives booze from Captain Baldwin, Eddie Elks. Baldwin asks if anyone would want to go to Cyprus for some rest and relaxation. Duggan and Gary celebrate and hang out in Akrotiri, Cyprus. Gary thinks Duggan is the British Army's top sharpshooter. Gary nearly causes a fight as Senk, Philip Arditi, runs into him. They discuss Helmand and their compensation with Senk. He claims that if his friend had to solve an issue for him, he would pay 10,000 or 15,000 British pounds. He wants someone dead, Duggan suspects. According to Senk, his pal is a highly significant individual who may spend up to $20 on each. According to Bianca, Duggan and his battalion must have committed some crimes that the army wishes to conceal. Gary informs Duggan that they had been waiting for 6 hours in 2013. Before they can escape, Duggan shoots the target. Back at the base, Duggan receives booze from Captain Baldwin, Eddie Elks. Baldwin asks if anyone would want to go to Cyprus for some rest and relaxation. Duggan and Gary celebrate and hang out in Akrotiri, Cyprus. Gary thinks Duggan is the British Army's top sharpshooter. Gary nearly causes a fight as Senk, Philip Arditi, runs into him. They discuss Helmand and their compensation with Senk. He claims that if his friend had to solve an issue for him, he would pay 10,000 or 15,000 British pounds. He wants someone dead, Duggan suspects. According to Senk, his pal is a highly significant individual who may spend up to $20 on each. He hands his card to them. Then, Asita Halcrow, Chukwudiawuji, talks about recognizing the jackal with Isabel Kirby, Lia Williams and other people. Bianca believes that Alexander Duggan should be given more attention. She requests to view Duggan and his unit file. I'll see what I can, Isabel adds. She requests that Bianca talk to the Foreign Secretary at a later time. Isabel and Jeremy Whitelock, played by Adam James, are introduced to Bianca. Isabel exhorts Jeremy to gain access to the Duggan files by using his charm. He consents to assist. Duggan and Gary carry out a killing spree in Ankara, Turkey. Because Barzani was a major troublemaker and made lies in his newspaper, Senk informs them that his friend is happy with their efforts. They receive compensation for their work. They are the best, Senk acknowledges. His pal is hoping they'll be free to examine another item. According to Senk, they would take care of the travel, lodging, equipment, and other details. Duggan has 3 years left, but Gary thinks he still has 6. If they disappear, he fears the military police will search everywhere.
Es Charles, ¿no? Porque aquí están diciendo...
There's a picture in TV here.
It's important you tell your brother he can't say...
You'd better be here. A partir de ahora solo quiero la puta...
Mom.
If they decide to change their minds, Senk advises them to contact Alvaro, played by John Arias, watches a Jackal news story. Declaring that the sketches of Charles, he brings Nuria, Ursula Corbero, into the room. She leaves the room quickly to phone the Jackal, who reports that he was able to escape Tallinn. According to Nuria, Alvaro believes he is the man in the TV image. She is to inform her brother that he must not mention that to anybody else, according to the Jackal. He maintains that the cops won't visit and that she is secure. According to the Jackal, he will arrive tomorrow. Nuria insists on the facts. Florissa Kamara's character, Jasmine Pullman, comes home. She is persuaded to come inside by Bianca. They start discussing UDC. Bianca is asked by Jasmine if she is indeed abandoning them. Bianca is adamant about staying put. She must figure out the best way to keep the family safe. She is informed by Bianca that the man who arrived that evening is incarcerated. Jasmine thinks his anger was just directed at his daughter. She inquires as to whether Bianca was involved in her demise. No, Bianca responds. She asserts that she only ever commits nice deeds. Duggan finds out that Najib Khan, a Taliban field commander in Afghanistan, is the next target. According to Captain Baldwin, he has come down for a marriage ceremony. Khan must be taken alive. Gary and Duggan will oversee the operation. Ronnie will be in a car with them. Before long, Gary and Duggan settle in. The others arrive in trucks at the site. A guy attempts to discuss capturing Khan with the guards. A shooter is spotted by Gary above the facility. The troops are informed that they cannot enter armed as the deputy governor is inside. Before shooting breaks out on the ground, Duggan guns the man over the facility. Duggan and Gary recognize that Walter has lost it once more. Duggan rises and rushes in the direction of the wedding when the gunfire stops. They must make this appear respectable, according to Walter. He calls it in to report that they are being fired at and trapped down. They are instructed not to discuss what transpired there as they prepare to go. The substance is detonated once they are sufficiently removed. Bianca pays a visit to Larry Stoke, Patrick O'Kane at Wakefield Prison in England. He charges her with gaining access to his wife by means of their daughter. She then used him to reach his brother and his wife to reach him. She has left a trail of woe, he says. He thinks they act similarly. She's also rotten, according to Larry. He's got a shank. Bianca says she's sorry. She is more deranged than he is, according to Larry. He uses the shank to cut his throat. Bianca attempts to halt the bleeding while calling for a medic. She returns to the workplace. Vince attempts to soothe her by talking to her. They do what needs to be done, he reminds her. Vince discloses that he has the file for Alexander Duggan. A sitter informs her that they have permission to view the file when she tries to do so. Nevertheless, neither he nor it leave the room. Bianca finds out that Alexander James Gordon Duggan became an officer cadet at Sandhurst. Before he left and joined the Paris as a private, he was predicted to earn the Sword of Honor. They find out about his tenacity and sniper training. Duggan served in a clandestine Special Forces squad in Afghanistan. The team was traveling to a mission on April 23, 2013, when a huge explosion destroyed the whole unit. Bianca is still unwilling to accept Duggan's passing. The motorist is asked to halt by Duggan. A mound with an IED on top of it catches his attention. They also notice activity in the area. Isabel and Edward Carver, John O'Neill are waiting for a sitter as he exits the room. Edward insists they must speak privately as Isabel answers the phone. Duggan's team, however, believes they saw nothing. Gary follows Duggan's decision to have a look. Duggan looks for explosives. When he finally reaches the mound, he discovers a kid's tricycle. Duggan takes out a phone and detonates the remainder of the device with it. Gary wonders what just transpired. They must go someplace no one can find them, according to Duggan.
What the fuck just happened?
Human.
You're an artist, my friend.
Standing sniper.
Does mean you want to have a look at a strap 2 file? Because
Want her here.
No one's trying to speak.
One chance and he missed.
A partir de ahora solo quiero la puta.
Tim, Xena's supervisor, was rather dissatisfied with how things had turned out during the launch event of UDC's software, River, as we saw in the 9th episode of The Day of the Jackal. No one knew if someone had forced him to do so or why his own guard had suddenly attempted to murder him. The Jackal needed a few things from his inventory, so he returned to Cadiz, Spain. Nuria waited to speak with him since she felt completely screwed up after learning what he did. Furthermore, why wouldn't she? She was justified in feeling let down by the Jackal. She had trusted the man, and she loved him. Then one day she discovered that he was not who he claimed to be. Nuria was unsure of the veracity of what she knew about him. She had no idea whether Charles was his true name. She most likely didn't know his history or how he suddenly ended himself in Spain.
I just need a little more.
Do you like the answer to that question?
Have you heard?
Why am I here? Been over that.
what you
Solution.
Where's it going? Far away. Just with your mother, you never know.
It's your bedtime, little one.
You know who I am.
It was like living with a stranger, Nuria thought. When the Jackal returned, she approached him and inquired as to if he was the man whose photo was being distributed by the press. The Jackal understood that he would have to be truthful in his responses to his wife's inquiries. The Jackal said that he had murdered people to obtain money. Nuria was startled to learn that a man could do it guilt-free. She had him say unequivocally that he killed people to make money and wanted him to say it over and over. She persuaded him to have a look. The jackal told Nuria that after he finished this last mission, he would stop killing humans. Alvaro had struck up a discussion with Tejero, a local gangster, and promised to introduce him to a potential investor. Alvaro could no longer flee, thus he needed the jackal to go with him. Nuria was skeptical since she didn't know what Alvaro had told the goons. She was afraid that if her husband accidentally told Tejero about what the jackal had done, he may end up in jail. The jackal pleaded with Nuria to calm down, telling her that he will take care of everything. The jackal told Alvaro that he would go see Tejero. When the jackal didn't arrive for lunch, Alvaro worried since he didn't want to annoy Tejero. Meanwhile, the jackal leased a boat and headed out to where he could have a good view of Tejero.
He's a fucking gangster. That you have money and...
Whoever.
Alvaro?
I have. Okay. Well, Juan, Sierra Hotel, you and me? That.
Share price is in free fall.
The economy. People like you and me will have to.
You really won't consider a postponement?
The European courts placing an injunction
is to work by an engine.
Yes, maybe it was you.
Last minute. For how long you want to fish?
Okay. Thanks, Guillermo.
Good luck. Entonces, chaval, ¿de qué cantidad de dinero?
Alvaro was talking to Tejero when he was shot, and Tejero died instantaneously. Alvaro was shocked and struggled to understand what had happened. I believe that this experience will aid Alvaro in understanding the individual with whom he was dealing. Isabel told Bianca that the investigation was coming to a close. Isabel was right when she said that because Bianca and her team had not found a single lead, she could not spend the resources on a futile investigation. Bianca had gone to visit Captain Mike Baldwin, who was familiar with the jackal from his army days, at the beginning of the Day of the Jackal. Without a word, Mike asked Bianca to go immediately. One thing became clear: Bianca was headed in the right direction. For this reason, she thought it was not warranted to conclude the investigation at that point. In addition, I believe Bianca had grown too attached to the case and was unwilling to let go.
I had a terrible name. Come on.
Meanwhile, OC was questioned by his own department for his involvement in the Norman Stoke case. The investigation panel didn't grant him a clean slate since they didn't think he was the one providing information to Norman Stoke, which is why the latter was able to escape when the MI6 team visited his home in the previous episodes. Bianca, as usual, pleaded with Isabel not to close the case and went to see OC, whom she believed would be on her side. However, nothing of such sort happened since he was also not in the mood to make fun of Bianca, especially after what had happened with him in the interrogation room. Bianca was in a really disturbed mood. Her personal life was in disarray, and now her job was also not progressing as expected. I think it became worse when she decided to visit her husband. Even though Bianca's husband knew she wasn't there to talk about their relationship, she had once again prioritized her job before her family. At the conclusion of episode 9, Bianca received the news that a Spanish gangster had been shot dead by a sniper. Bianca discovered that the jackal was to blame after reading the entire article on the news page.
Say the words.
I killed...
Alvaro just told me that he's been talking all the time, and I need you to move on. And if I...
Is our Hail Mary, the jackal.
Hola?
Hablo con Nuria.
In episode 10 of The Day of the Jackal, Inspector Anna promptly summons Nuria to assist with the murder investigation. The jackals get away from the authorities, who are still after him, serves as the backdrop for the real events in this scene. It's still touch and go even though he can escape. However, the Daghouse board has chosen to permanently postpone the river launch due to UDC's passing. After the jackal's victory, the board is told that they need to tidy up loose ends. At MI6, Bianca is more dedicated than ever to locate the jackal and is conducting ongoing investigations. She knows that both the hit from the boat and Tejero's murder were committed from a considerable distance. Since Isabel believes that MI6 functions as a team and that Bianca isn't performing responsibly right now, she won't put up with any of this. In actuality, once she turns down her proposal, Bianca quits.
Our work can cost us lives and money.
Killing was a personal grudge.
Zeal outside the tent tends to be right. If the jackal is apprehended, it's by somebody.
Well, it's just that I
Deal with him, and then.
Morí.
Es la última vez.
Y eso es lo que va a hacer, ¿no? Yo no soy como papá. Es la última.
What's that? So I'm in here. Go open that door.
Yeah, all right, I can try.
Arriving at school after losing her job, she apologizes to Paul for what transpired. She is aware that she and her spouse work as a team and simply wants him back. It's a touching moment, particularly when she acknowledges that she doesn't always support them. Isabel quickly makes an appearance as she attempts to negotiate her way back into the workforce. Furthermore, she is reversing her decision to close the case. Bianca must carry out this covert, unapproved operation, which she declines to perform. However, Paul thinks Bianca ought to go ahead and do it that evening. She is unable to let it go, and the comparison to Jackal's current situation is brilliantly done. When the Foreign Secretary visits Isabel, it is evident that the two are working together in cooperation. Isabel is certain that Bianca would turn in her notice because it turns out that she was unclean after all. However, the Foreign Secretary is concerned that she would be a liability, so that is an issue. The Secretary wants Bianca to pursue Jackal and take him out in order to stop it from happening. Then, to hide their traces, they will take her out. After veering off from Child in the street with a football, the Jackal gets into a vehicle accident and topples over. Despite being on borrowed time, he escapes the nation by snatching a ride from an old couple to the Montenegrin border. But en route, he encounters a test to his own moral compass, which makes the two of them fearful. Jackal is compelled to kill them both after the lady stabs him in the shoulder. In order to investigate the Tejero connection, Bianca enlists Vince's assistance and the two of them travel to Spain. Inspector Anna, who has chosen to free Nuria's brother, is the person they converse with. Bianca is unsuccessful, but Vince's gentle touch successfully opens Alvaro's file. This relates to Nuria and, later, Charles. The two opt to wait and figure things out, just like the Jackal did. She wants to know what the larger storyline is because she knows it exists. When Nuria has had enough, she gathers all the cash and considers fleeing. When Leonora contacts a man named Simon, she is informed that her pay will be paid, while the Jackal arrives in Spain. Leonora is about to be slain, but she escapes before it happens because she recognizes a ruse. Nuria departs from this life in a cab with her kid back in Spain. Bianca is rushing away, but not in the direction of danger, because she knows she's taking a cab. Bianca and Vince start to close in on the Jackal once he returns home. While they are doing so, Leonora rings and tells him to get out since the police are coming for him. As it happens, the Jackal was able to pack his belongings since Nuria had left a substantial sum of money in the drawers. Alvaro is inebriated as he makes his way through the estate. He shoots his revolver right away, and the two murder him. In the meantime, the Jackal chooses to take refuge in the safe.
Just one man with Tejero when he was... We saved you the trouble.
Or if we could talk to him.
Sister is married to a rich man.
And he wants his money, of course.
Did he ever mention Spain?
Everyone is very pleased with your...
You got it. Have dinner when you're back in New York.
Would do. We would take him alive. No, who's been helping him is... I know why I'm here. I need to get...
The Jackal quickly murders him from the stairs while Bianca sets off the fire alarm. Duggan because she wants answers. She explains that she does this because she enjoys winning, and the Jackal agrees. After offering to assist him in regaining Nuria, she ultimately shoots her. He leaves as blood pours from Bianca's mouth. But even though he is successful in his career, he has lost his family and is still searching for them. Unfortunately, a vehicle on the road strikes him in a startling collision. Isabel receives a promotion to chief back in London, and OC receives a communication from Bianca indicating that Isabel is the corrupt agent in this situation. He hides the message by deleting it. Despite the mishap, the Jackal continues to exist. When he sees Leonora, she informs him that there is another, unpaid debt, that need attention. That being the New York power structure, of course. He wants to locate Nuria and his son before consenting. The Jackal murdered Vince and Bianca at the conclusion of Season 1 of The Day of the Jackal. After Bianca's passing reached London, Isabel disseminated the word that she had gone rogue and was not permitted to travel to Spain in search of the Jackal. The woman who risked her life for her country met a horrible end. Although it wasn't the death she deserved, her enemies were able to use her as a scapegoat in the dirty game since she didn't comprehend how the system operated. Xena, working with the Jackal for the benefit of the maniacs in New York, became aware that she was being viewed as a liability and that her life was also in jeopardy.
I just want to know who you are.
Xena was an intelligent woman who avoided the trap. Before the hired shooters could arrive and murder her, she managed to flee the hotel. Xena called the Jackal and told him what their bosses were planning. The Jackal's life was saved thanks to the advice. I think the Jackal would have traveled to New York and exacted his retribution if personal affairs had been going well. However, he was currently unaware of Nuria's and his son's whereabouts. He most likely had an accident as he was hurrying to get to the airport. He met with Xena at the end of The Day of the Jackal Season 1, and she informed him about their boss, Tim, since she knew he would want to make amends with him because he hadn't even gotten the full amount of money promised to him for killing UDC. We witnessed a very compulsive aspect of the Jackal in those final minutes, right before he had an accident. The instant Nuria took that extraordinary step, he went insane since he had prepared a life for himself. If you like this video, make sure to check out OKTV Today's YouTube channel, where we have hundreds of videos just like this. If you want to see our newest episodes, make sure you subscribe to get notification.